Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today's story is about courage, self-belief, and the power of never giving up. Along the way, you'll also hear many simple English sentences that people use in everyday conversations. Listen carefully, repeat after me, and enjoy the journey. Now, let's begin. My name is Noah Bennett. I am 18 years old. I don't come from a rich family. I don't have expensive clothes or the latest phone. I am just an ordinary boy with an extraordinary dream. I live in a peaceful village called Green Valley, surrounded by hills, rivers, and endless fields. Life here is quiet. There are no shopping malls, tall buildings, or busy streets. Instead, we wake up to birds singing and the sound of farmers working in the fields. Although my village is beautiful, life is not easy. My family struggles every single day. My father works as a farmer. From sunrise until sunset, he works under the hot sun to earn enough money for our family. His hands are rough and his face is covered with sweat. But he never complains. My mother stitches clothes for our neighbors. She spends hours sitting beside an old sewing machine just to earn a little extra money. Watching them work so hard fills me with both pride and sadness. I always tell myself, one day, I will change our lives. Every morning, I wake up before dawn. Before going to school, I help my father water the crops and feed our chickens. Sometimes, I carry heavy buckets of water from the village well. Sometimes, I clean the yard or collect firewood. Only after finishing my chores do I get ready for school. My school uniform is old. The color has faded over the years, and there are small patches sewn onto the sleeves. But my mother washes it carefully every weekend. She always says, "A clean heart is more important than expensive clothes." Those words stay with me every day. The journey to school takes almost 40 minutes on foot. The dusty road is long, especially during the hot summer. Sometimes I feel exhausted before classes even begin. But I keep walking because I know education is the only road that can lead me to a better future. When I finally reach school, I quietly take my seat in the last row of the classroom. I rarely speak. I avoid eye contact. I prefer that nobody notices me. The subject that scares me the most is English. Whenever our English teacher walks into the classroom, my stomach tightens. My hands become cold. My heart beats faster. I understand only a few words. Speaking English feels impossible. Every sentence seems like a mountain I cannot climb. Meanwhile, many of my classmates answer confidently. They speak fluently, they laugh, they joke in English, as if it were the easiest language in the world. I watch them with admiration, but also with jealousy. I often ask myself, why am I so different? The more I compared myself to others, the smaller I felt. Soon, negative thoughts filled my mind. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe English isn't for someone like me. Maybe I should just stop trying. Those thoughts became heavier every day. One Monday morning, something happened that I will never forget. Our English teacher entered the classroom carrying a novel. She smiled warmly and said, "Today everyone will read one paragraph aloud." My heart immediately started racing. I silently prayed that she wouldn't call my name. Student after student stood up and read confidently. Then I heard the words I feared the most. "Noah, it's your turn." Slowly I stood up from my chair. My hands trembled. My mouth became dry. The classroom suddenly felt very quiet. I opened the book, looked at the first sentence, and tried to read. I looked at the words on the page, but they seemed to move in front of my eyes. I took a deep breath and started reading. My name. The first sentence was easy, but then my voice began to shake. I mispronounced one word, then another. I stopped in the middle of the paragraph because I didn't know how to continue. The classroom became silent for a few seconds. Then someone laughed. Another student whispered something. Soon, several classmates were smiling. and trying to copy the way I spoke. One boy even repeated my mistakes in a funny voice. The whole class burst into laughter. My face turned bright red. I wanted the floor to open beneath my feet. I wished I could disappear. I quickly closed the book and lowered my head. I'm sorry," I whispered. The teacher raised her hand and asked everyone to be quiet. "That's enough," she said firmly. Then she looked at me with kind eyes. "It's okay, Noah. Learning takes time. You may sit down." I nodded silently and returned to my seat. But the words of my classmates hurt much more than I wanted to admit. For the rest of the lesson, I couldn't concentrate. Their laughter kept echoing in my mind. When the final bell rang, everyone rushed outside. Some students were still talking about what had happened. I quietly picked up my old school bag and walked home alone. The road felt longer than ever before. Usually, I enjoyed watching the green fields and listening to the birds, but that afternoon, I noticed nothing. My head was down. My heart felt heavy. Every step seemed harder than the last. I kept asking myself, why am I so afraid? Why can't I speak like everyone else? Will I always be this weak? By the time I reached home, tears were rolling down my cheeks. I tried to wipe them away before opening the door. I didn't want anyone to see me crying. But mothers notice everything. As soon as I walked inside, my mother looked up from her sewing machine. She smiled gently, but her smile disappeared the moment she saw my face. She stood up and came toward me. "Noah," she said softly, "what happened?" I tried to smile. Nothing. She placed her hand on my shoulder. "My son, don't hide your pain from me." Her gentle voice broke the wall around my heart. I couldn't hold my feelings anymore. I sat beside her and told her everything. I told her about the reading exercise. I told her how nervous I felt. I told her how everyone laughed at me. When I finished speaking, I looked down at the floor. For a few moments, she said nothing. She simply held my hand. Then she smiled. "Noah," she said, "do you know how your father learned to farm?" I looked at her and slowly shook my head. He made many mistakes. He planted crops at the wrong time. Sometimes heavy rain destroyed everything. Sometimes nothing grew. But every season, he tried again. That's why today he knows exactly what to do. She gently lifted my chin so I could look into her eyes. "Ma, making mistakes don't mean you're a failure. It means you're learning." She continued, "The students who laughed at you only saw one moment. They didn't see your hard work. They don't know your dreams. So never let someone else's opinion become your truth." I listened carefully. Every word felt like light entering a dark room. She smiled again. "You don't have to become the best student tomorrow. You only need to become a little better than you were yesterday. One new word, one new sentence, one small step every day. That is how great journeys begin." I took a deep breath. For the first time in many days, I felt a small spark of hope. That evening, after dinner, I sat alone outside our little house. The sky was full of stars. A cool breeze moved through the trees. I looked up at the night sky and whispered to myself, "I won't quit. I may be slow. I may make mistakes, but I will keep going." At that moment, I made a promise that would change my life forever. No matter how difficult English seemed, no matter how many people laughed, I would practice every single day. Because deep inside, I knew one thing. Every expert was once a beginner. And maybe, just maybe, one day I would become the person I had always dreamed of being. The next morning, I started with just one simple sentence. "I can do this." I repeated it again and again. Every day, I learned a few new words. I read simple English books. I listened carefully in class. I practiced speaking in front of the mirror, even when I made mistakes. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, I noticed something had changed. I was no longer afraid to speak. One day, my English teacher asked me to read in front of the class again. This time, I stood up with confidence. I took a deep breath and began reading. My voice was calm. My pronunciation was much better. When I finished, the classroom was completely silent. Then my teacher smiled proudly. "Excellent work, Noah," she said. "You've improved so much." For the first time, my classmates clapped for me. That moment taught me an unforgettable lesson. Success doesn't belong to the smartest person. It belongs to the person who refuses to quit. Today, I'm still learning English. I still make mistakes. But now, I know that every mistake helps me become better. So if you're afraid to speak English, don't give up. Start with one word, then one sentence. Keep practicing every day. One day, you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Believe in yourself. Your journey begins with one small step. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring English stories. See you in the next video.